Okay guys, what we're going to look at today are functions with square roots. So far what we have looked at in the past have been linear functions. Okay, and that's for example y equals 2x plus 4. And we know that a linear function produces a straight line. Okay, we have also looked at quadratic functions. For example, y equals x squared plus 2, and we know that that produces a parabola. Okay, now what we're going to look at now are what we call a square root function. So that means a function that has a square root in it. For example, we can have y equals the square root of x. Okay, now what we've done in the past when we've looked at a new type of function is we've always started by drawing an xy table and having a look at it. So that's what we're also going to do here. So let's draw an xy table. So we do something like this. Okay, we're going to put x and y. Alright, and let's put some boxes in along here. You guys are going to use a ruler, you're not doing this by hand like I am. Okay, and let's put some numbers in here. So we're going to put 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay, that'll do for the moment. Now, we know that when we use an xy table, what we do is we just substitute the numbers in. So for example, if we're looking at x equals 0, we're going to substitute that in. So we're going to have if x equals 0, y equals the square root of 0. And if you do that on your calculator, you're going to get that is equal to 0. Okay, so that's an easy one. If x equals 1, y equals the square root of 1, and that is equal to 1. If x equals 2, y equals the square root of 2. Remember, we're just substituting those x values in for x up here. Okay, so that's equal to, I think, 1.4. And it's not exactly equal, it's approximately equal to 1.4. Whoops, we're going to use a point here. Okay, so we get a 1.4 here. If x is equal to 3, y is equal to the square root of 3, which is approximately equal to 1.7. If x is equal to 4, y is equal to the square root of 4, which we all know is equal to 2. Okay, and we're going to keep going, but I'm not going to write all the steps out anymore. We're a bit past that point. So the square root of 5 is 2.2. The square root of 6 is 2.4. And the square root of 7 is 2.6. All right, let's go down to the negative side. Now, if you type in the square root of -1 on your calculator, have a look at what it gives you. I want you to try it first. And if you think about what we learned earlier in the unit, remember we said that if you have the square root of a negative number, there is no real answer. So that means for all of these values down here, we're actually going to get no answer. Okay, it's not possible to do them. Okay, that means that when we graph this, we're actually going to get only a positive value. Okay, so let's draw a set of axes. Okay, so our axes are like this. I'm going to just adjust them a tiny bit and make them red. Okay, so these are our axes. Okay, on this set of axes, we're going to have, now we know that y, in this case, is only going up to 2.6. So for our y values, we will mark in 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and for our x values, we went all the way up to 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we'll draw our arrows on the end. And we'll label it with an X and a Y. Okay, now we can plot this. So our first point is, well, we can't do any negative numbers, so there's nothing there. So we're going to start with 0, 0. So we know we have a point here. Okay, at 1, we also have 1, so another point here. At 2, it's 1.4, so about here. At 3, we have 1.7, so that's going to be about here. At 4, we have 2. At 5, we have 2.2. At 6, we have 2.4. And at 7, we have 2.6. Okay, and if you look at this, this is obviously not a straight line. This is clearly not a straight line. Okay, so what we're going to do, if we draw a curve that goes through these points, we get this nice shape like this. Okay, and this should be a little bit familiar to you. This is y equals the square root of x. This should be a little bit familiar to you because this looks like a parabola that has been flipped on its side. Okay, you should be able to see that. If you flip it sideways, you actually have a parabola. Okay, now the reason for that is if we square both sides, so we have currently we have y equals, oh, I don't want to work over there, we're going to zoom in a little bit more. Okay, currently I have y equals the square root of x. If we square both sides, we get y squared equals x. Okay, and if you think about this, this is just the reverse of y, whoops, this is just the reverse of y equals x squared. Okay, but as we said, you can't have the square root of a negative, and also if you take a square root of a positive number, you're always going to get a positive answer. So that's why we're only ending up with just this one-sided half of a parabola. Okay, now these come in different ways, so we can have different forms of this function. It's not just going to be y equals square root of x. It could be something like y equals the square root of x plus 3. It could be y equals 2 times the square root of x plus 1. We can have y equals 3 square root x minus 2. Okay, we can have all kinds of things in here. All right, and yeah, these are square root functions. Okay, so what I want you to think about when you're doing these is, firstly, you need to make sure that whatever is underneath this square root is going to give you a positive answer. Okay, so for example, with this one down the bottom here, we can't get a negative answer. So there's going to be a limit to what numbers we can put in there. So if you put in 2, for example, for x, then 2 minus 2 is 0. So if we put in if x equals 2, y equals 3 times the square root of 2 minus 2. So y is equal to 3 times the square root of 0, okay, which is 0. All right, but if we put if x equals 1, y equals 3 times the square root of 1 minus 2, okay, which is equal to 3 times the square root of -1, and there is no real answer. Okay, so these are the kinds of things we want you to do today, just working out if there's an answer for various values and also just filling in some tables. Okay, that's it for the moment. Okay, so good luck.